there, my name is Krystal Everdeen, and today I'm going to show you how to crochet a classic tube top. The front of the tube top is solid while the back is a lace up, but you could also reverse the look and actually have the lace up design in the front and a solid back, so it's like you have 2 for 1. And I would say that this project is somewhat beginner friendly. You do have to know the basic stitches. You need to know a chain, a single crochet, and a slip stitch. But if you are completely new to crochet, I have a Crocheting for Beginners video that I will link in the description box below. Alrighty then, let's get started. I'm using size 4 yarn from the brand Loops and Threads, as well as a size 5mm hook. And the first thing I'm going to do is create a slip knot. Put my hook through that slip knot and then chain a chain that is long enough to wrap around your back, over your breasts, and meet right at your sternum but not touch. You do want a little bit of a gap here to make the lace up design, so make sure that you don't make too many chains because then your tube top is just going to keep slipping off. So yeah, make a chain that's long enough to cover that portion of your body, and then once you have made that chain long enough, then you're going to go back on that chain with a single crochet. And a single crochet is putting your hook through the stitch, wrapping your yarn around the hook, bringing it back through that stitch, and then wrapping your yarn around the hook again and bringing it through the last 2 loops that were on your hook. So through the stitch, yarn over, back through the stitch, yarn over, through both loops. Through the stitch, yarn over, back through the stitch, yarn over, back through 2 loops. And so on and so forth. Again, if you are new to crochet and do not know what a single crochet is, I do cover what a single crochet is and a lot of other basic stitches in my Crocheting for Beginners video, so you can go ahead and check that out. The link will be in the description box below. Practice with that for a bit and then come back to this tutorial. Since it is rather beginner friendly, again, you only need to know a couple of the basic stitches, and then the rest of the tutorial is very easy. So yeah, continue on with single crochet throughout the entirety of the chain until you reach the very end. So that's really it. You just single crochet your way across that chain until you reach the end. So I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so these are the final stitches left in the chain, and I'm just going to single crochet through this last one right here. And once I have made my final single crochet of this first row, I am going to show you what it looks like. This is what it looks like. And then now that I'm at the end, I'm going to make sure that my edges stay straight by chaining 1, then flipping my project over, going into the very first stitch of the next row and creating my next row of single crochet, starting with that stitch. So from here I'm going to move on to the next stitch, and it's going to be the same thing. It's just putting your hook through the stitch, yarning over, pulling it back through the stitch, yarning over, and pulling it through the last 2 loops left on your hook. So again, through the stitch, yarn over, back through the stitch, yarn over, through the last 2 loops that were left on your hook. Through the stitch, then yarn over or yarn under. A lot of people mention that I do yarn over and yarn unders just like interchangeably, and then they kind of get mad and say that I'm quote unquote crocheting wrong. But honestly, the stitches come out looking the exact same way, and if you think that my crochet top looks good, which I'm sure you do because you're watching this video and want to know how I made it, there's no need to be angry about how I crochet because in the end, it works out well. So yeah, but I just wanted to point it out to you just in case you were confused where I say yarn over and then I'm actually doing yarn under. Just putting yarn over the hook / on the hook is good enough, I believe. But you could stay textbook and just do yarn over if you want to. I do it interchangeably and it comes out great regardless. So anyway, after you have finished your second row of single crochet, you're going to, of course, chain 1, flip the project over, and then continue on to your third row. And then once you reach the end of that third row of single crochet, then you're going to do the exact same thing. Once you go into the very last stitch of that row, you're going to chain 1, flip the project over, and then start on your 5th row, and so on and so forth until your project just continues to grow and grow and grow until you put the project against yourself and you are content with the size of it. And that's really all you have to do. Just continue making row after row of single crochet, making sure that you go into the very last stitch of each row, then chain one, flip the project over, then go into the very first stitch of the new row. That will help make your edges nice and straight and even and look really crisp and pretty like mine. So finally, I have completed this portion of the project. In total, I made 40 rows of single crochet, and this is like a crop top, but if you would like it to be more of a bikini top, then you make less rows, or also depending on your body type, you may have larger breasts than me because I have really small ones. So you may need to make more rows than I do. It's totally up to you. Just put the project against your body as if you're going to wear it, and once you're satisfied with the size of it, then you move on to making the straps. And the way that I make straps is simply starting where I left off at the end of the last row of single crochet and just chaining a very long chain to serve as my strap. I did chain 100 chains to make my strap, and of course, depending on your top size, your body size, your preference, you may need to make more or less chains. But I chained 100, and then I made sure that 100 is going to be long enough for my strap by simply aligning the chain to where I was going to lace it up, and then making sure that I had plenty of strap left over for me to actually tie it. And once I was satisfied with knowing that 100 chain was going to be good enough for this top, then I went back on that chain with a slip stitch. And a slip stitch is very easy. It's just putting your hook through the stitch, yarning over, pulling it back through the stitch, and then through that one loop left on your hook. And I like going back on the chain with a slip stitch because not only does it make it thicker and sturdier, but I also like to do it because instead of detaching the yarn from the yarn ball and then reattaching it to where I want my other strap to be, I simply slip stitch down the chain and then single crochet my way across to the other side to make the other chain, and then go back on that with a slip stitch and then detach the yarn from the yarn ball. So it saves me an extra step. Instead of having to detach the yarn from the yarn ball and then reattach it to the other side to make the other strap, I just do it all in one go, and I'm all for it. So again, I slip stitched all the way down the chain, and then once I reached the single crochet portion of the top, I just made one last row of single crochet all the way across the top until I reached the other side where I wanted to make my other strap. And then from there, I made my other strap, chained 100 chains, then went back on it with a slip stitch, and then that's where I would have detached the yarn from the yarn ball and then sealed the project. But I am actually going to unravel this project once I'm done filming this video so I can use the yarn for my next crochet tutorial. So after you have made both of your straps, you're simply going to lace it up. And the way I do it is I mark out where I want the straps to be laced up at, and I try to make it as even as possible. So I grab one strap from one side, bring it over to the opposite side and attach it. Then I bring it over to the opposite side of that and attach it. Then the opposite side of that and attach it all the way to the top. Again, trying to make it as even as possible and give it a decent sized gap of about, I don't know, like an inch or something. But again, it totally depends on your preference and the size of your top as well. And then once I'm done lacing one strap up, then I'm going to do the exact same thing for the other strap, just on the opposite side. Also, when I'm working with the second strap, I also like to take into consideration how even it is to the other strap on the other side. So I kind of try to line them up so that all of the gaps in between are even and that the stitches are the same stitches that I attached the strap to the other side with. So yeah, it does take a little bit of consideration, but it is really easy to do regardless. Although it does look a little bit complicated, it's really not. And once you're done with the straps, then you're completely done with the top. And now it's time to style it. Woohoo! I styled mine with a pair of distressed denim high-waisted shorts, and I think it looks really nice with it, but it is also just plain white, so it could go with a bunch of other bottoms as well and look fantastic. And really, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it easy to follow. Again, if you are a beginner to crochet, I do have that Crocheting for Beginners video linked in the description box below. I know that if you follow that and practice that for a bit and come back to this video, you'll totally be able to do this project. I also have a bunch of other beginner-friendly crochet projects on my channel as well. And if you're a little bit more advanced or want a challenge, I also have a ton of other tutorials out there for you to follow, which are a little bit more challenging and interesting. Just check out my channel. I have a ton of crochet videos for you, and I hope you enjoy them. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and also click that red subscribe button if you have not already, so I can see you next time. Bye!